Today, idtalks visibility. You know, communication about our work becomes increasingly important, but how not to fake for the sake of giving a better inclusion and diversity impression. What are some of the ethical dilemma of work with communication and visibility? For this and other questions, to talk about this and other questions, we have invited a good friend, a faithful colleague of idtalks. Our regular guest today will be our speaker, Pavel Vassiljev. Pavel has been involved in youth work for almost 2 decades now. He started as a youth leader at a local youth center running dance classes, and I would love to hear about that, and organizing urban culture events. But after finishing his studies abroad in marketing and brand management, he came back to Estonia to continue activities with young people and community work while establishing a youth organization called Shocking Group. So we're very happy and privileged to have you here and share your ideas, thoughts, insights, Pavel. And now I happily pass you the floor.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Anna, for the introduction. And it's a huge pleasure to be here. I've been following idtalks for quite a while. And it's nice to be at the end of this season talking about visibility and talking about Dior and communication. So thank you very much for inviting. And let's make sure I share the screen. And I guess it works. Good. So the topic of the talk is visibility. But then when starting to prepare for the talk, it also moved quite a lot towards Dior, or dissemination and exploitation of results, and understanding that it's not only about communicating that we exist as NGOs and projects that we do, but it's also a lot about sharing the results that we create. And preparing the talk a bit more, I understood that both visibility and Dior might sound like very big words. So it's actually about communication and sharing. It's about how we communicate about the work that we do as organizations, and it's about sharing the practices, sharing the know-how, sharing the tools that we create from very often long-term projects. And it's going to be done in 30 to 40 minutes, and both communication, sharing, Dior, it's huge words. So I just invite you to brace yourself, and we will make sure to go through it. We'll start with communication at first. And now we are getting more and more marketing messages. We are getting more advertisements. We are getting more images coming from different projects and more opportunities. So how to be visible, how to be seen in this whole sea of different messages. It's becoming more important. It's becoming basically vital for many of the organizations to survive at the local level, to get more people interested, more people involved, and also to get seen by both the funders and potentially the multipliers. And with growth of any NGO and any project, we start sometimes getting this identity crisis of who we are actually, what are we communicating about, what do we believe in, and what are our values. And here I would go to a word that is sometimes taken reluctantly in the NGO sector or in the third sector, the word branding, because that sounds as something very businessy and entrepreneurially. However, my background is in branding and marketing, and when we were studying it, a lot of the talks about branding was starting with being authentic, with creating value, with identifying your own values and making an approachable image and an approachable concept out of it. And I would ask you right now to write in the chat, when you hear, branding, what is a brand that you like? What are your favorite brands? And then why? Just the first few that come to your mind.
Everything related?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything that you perceive as a brand. Some is right. Netflix, because the pronunciation makes sense in many languages, so it's easy to remember. Some is the big companies of Samsung and Google of being, I guess, being there and being reachable, being useful. Just in case, be fashion label because you like their style. The perception of design and quality of Apple products. Maria is in love with the brand of Belgium. 2/3 because of the sustainable aspect. All right. Good. More are coming. idtalks, because the name ID stands for inclusion and diversity, ID for identity, so it makes sense. Very good. Recycled cloth diapers, because also I guess the sustainability idea, the values that are close to you. Good. Then coming back to the talk here, a brand, basically what it is. Sometimes people say, hey, it's a name, it's the logo, it's a slogan, but it is a set of tangible and intangible elements that are designed to create awareness and identity, and also reputation of a product, service, person, place, as in Belgium could be one, or an organization as well. So here, when talking about NGO communication, we very often want to come back exactly to the concept of what is your brand? What are the tangible things that communicate the values of your organization, that communicate the idea, the tone, the openness to others? And what are also these intangible elements that are very often within the organization? The structure that is being built, that is open, the atmosphere that is created both in the office, during events, during projects, that is also communicating the values that you have. And it is creating awareness. It is helping us to differentiate one product or one organization from another, to find this unique aspects of one or the other. So when thinking about marketing and branding, I invite you not to think about it from a business perspective, but to think from an organizational perspective, to think of branding and marketing of NGOs as a way to become more attractive to your target group, to become maybe more understandable with what you do, a bit more approachable for others, and also, of course, to gain a bit more trust from the local authorities, from the decision makers, because they will be connecting the work you do with the values that you promote. And one of the main things of branding is the value proposition, is thinking, what are your core values as an organization? What are the core values of the work that you do, the projects that you develop, and how you communicate them from your visual identity, from the texts, and also from the content that you create. So the basic thing of adjusting a brand or designing a brand is looking first at value. Why are we valuable for the society around, for our target group? What is this value that we want to deliver? And the second core aspect is consistency, is creating, again, sitting down and creating a plan of staying consistent with the way you communicate, with the way you promote projects, with the way you run activities. And in NGOs, very often we have members changing, teams changing from project to project. So it's a bit harder maybe to keep it consistent, but it is one of the crucial elements to be visible, to be understood with your communication, is to create consistency that will then create the habit and create the understanding part. And And here it's big compliments to the SALTO ID team with the visual identity of the talks, with the development of communication, with the seasons, with the possibility of registering, with the reminders, with very consistent communication that is coming from this initiative. And if we look into branding, what it entails inside, so the interconnection of these three elements. First is text elements. Here it can be a logo, it can be a slogan, it can be the tone of voice that you use in your posters, in your Facebook events, in the documents that you create. Then it's the audiovisual identity, which would involve a lot, the logo itself, the typography, the visuals that you use, the photos that you use, the photos that you create, the video materials, or even the audio one. And then the content being the structure of the organization, the atmosphere that is being developed there internally, and the word of mouth that goes from one person to another about the activities that you do. All of this is part of our brand. All of this is part of our communication strategy. And to give a quick look into what it is, for example, for our organization, we are a youth organization that is member-based, that is independent, and that's been working in specifically Tallinn, Estonia for the last 10 years. Our name is Shocking Group, and our slogan is Imagine, Inspire, and Act. And that is kind of communicating the main idea. We want all our members, no matter if it's young people or if it's youth workers and educators, to imagine the change they want to see around themselves, imagine the activities they would like to be part of, then inspire people around with it, and act, and not be waiting for, say, ideas, projects, and things to come their way, but actually sitting down and being, okay, where can we start and what can we do? And our communication strategy is, or let's say our tone of voice is fun, friendly, and daring. And everywhere you will be seeing things that we post, things that we write, it will very rarely be serious or very formal. It's going to be friendly, it's going to be fun. Our logo also communicates that a bit of this flashy, let's say, perception, the color that is also communicating this energy that is coming from the work. And in audiovisual, we have quite a few merchandise things that we developed to communicate exactly to our main target group, which are young people aged 15 to 22 in Tallinn. We have some clothing to differentiate our members. We have clothing that comes out of different projects to also communicate ideas and thoughts of young people. We use a lot of stickers. We use a lot of temporary tattoos and postcards. So also these audiovisual and promotional materials are also very much targeted at the young people, who is our main group with whom we work. And then coming to the content part of our organization's brand, well, one of the differentiating factors is the free choice of language to use, because here in Tallinn, we work and we live in quite divided communities with different schools, some schools using Russian language as the language of instruction, some schools using Estonian language. And as a result, you have young people being born and raised in Tallinn, but not necessarily having friends, having acquaintances, having colleagues from these different language backgrounds, when especially they're 15, 16, 17. And one of the big shifts we did in the organization, we started using English as the main language of the organization, inviting, no matter from which language background, young people to join and kind of get involved. We don't require, a specific or very good level of English. We say language is a tool that you can use to make sure that you are understood. So at any specific moment, you can be using Estonian, you can be using Russian, you can be using English, you can be using Spanish, as long as you make the effort to be understood, as long as you are also open to kind of listen to people from trying to explain themselves in different languages. And that is one of the kind of core values also of what we are. And many organizations here at home are divided, with many young people only from the Estonian language background staying in one organization, while the Russian-speaking background staying in the other. And we are one of the very few who are 7 years after we made this change of language, are uniting young people with different language backgrounds. And also by that, we involve and include young people who are recently coming to Estonia and to Tallinn. We have attracted quite a few students from overseas that coming to Tallinn. We are now also working more on involving and inviting young people coming from Ukraine who's just arrived to Tallinn recently. And exactly this freedom of choice of language and not feeling the, let's say, the pressure of speaking any one of them is that is working for us at the moment. And then also the content idea of being in charge of things and really influencing whatever is happening in the organization and staying kind of youthful is also one of the values. If a young person, a member of the organization says, hey, I would like to try this new channel for communication, or I would like to try this project, and I would like to maybe do something on this new topic that our organization don't really have any experience in, we still would go for it and provide this opportunity as like a platform to work. And then this freedom, to get involved at different stages. If you want to take over communication and see how it can be done, please, we can coach a little bit, but then it's going to be up to you. And on the right side, lower side, there is this portfolio of different projects for which we also design different communication strategies and different ideas. And all these are also relevant for the target group that we choose, because they also take, let's say, formats that are a bit more innovative in specific, working with escape rooms, escape boxes, working with street culture events and street dance, working with streetwear designs and basically promotion of these very youthful formats for young people. And this is the core brand image, the core brand concept of our organization. And we are always trying to revisit it and see if it all makes sense and if we all are actually staying true to all these ideas that we have here, and what can actually enhance it even more. And of course, when working with these topics, there are some dilemmas that we are often asking ourselves, or we expect organizations to ask. One of them is, should and can we include and target everyone, and satisfy everyone with our communication, or should we concentrate on more narrow and specific target groups to reach our messages? That is one of the things in our organization. We are trying to make all of our communication directed to young people first, that they are our main priority. And only after that, we think about the multipliers, we think about the funders and the decision makers. But first, it is the idea of empowering young people. Another question is, are we advocating for someone with our communication or together with the target group? Do we actually ask and do we have frequent checkups, whether our communication makes sense, whether our also activities and the results that we create also make sense? In our organization, we're trying to make frequent checkups with young people, being like, hey, what do you think about what's going on in our Instagram? What do you think about these projects? What is your general feeling of how the work is going? And then we adjust according, or we invite them to then directly influence. What could make it more comfortable, and what could make Shocking Group a space where you feel yourself free to express your ideas and to take up this charge. Another one is, are we co-creating our activities together with the target group, or are we still working with activities only for them, or only advocating a specific topic without including these target groups? And then also another dilemma sometimes is inclusion a funder's requirement of a specific project that we do, that, hey, you need to have this specifically diverse composition of a group? Or is this a real systemic approach inside the organization and inside how we work and how we communicate that promotes this message of openness and basically, yeah, the idea that everyone is welcome is not only the poster, but actually when you step into the doors of the organization and in the event, there is also this feeling, because there is someone who will welcome you, there is someone who will explain a bit of the context of what is happening, will share some other activities that will be going on, and will also invite you to kind of, yeah, stay for longer with us. And in our case, it's also very often trying to create this very slow but systemic approach. And when we started, most of our members were Russian-speaking young people from a very specific neighborhood. And then very slowly, only after 5 years, we started kind of balancing out and seeing this more diverse groups of young people joining and kind of being spoken about not only in one specific neighborhood, but also a bit around town and in different schools and with different target groups, or with different types of young people. And about communication, what are the important things? Why to care? Well, first, in 2021, there is noise of up to 10,000 advertisements per day that we see, and marketing messages that we are subject to. Back when I was in university, this number was around 5,000. Yeah, so around 10 years ago, they were teaching us about 5,000, and now I've been looking for the updated stats, and it's 10,000. That's insane, and how we want to be noticed and seen in all of this noise amongst young people or amongst the target groups that you work with. And communication strategy, sitting down and putting out objectives, creating specific messages, choosing channels appropriately is the way to go for us. And a good communication strategy makes your organization stand out. It makes it approachable and not being so scary and far away. It makes it a lot more closer. So it attracts your target group. It is also makes your work understood by also the general public and the wider public. When they see video material, when they see some photos that are not very abstract, that also invites and encourages them. It raises the recognition of the work, because, hey, amongst all the things that I see on my timeline, on my Instagram feed, I've been seeing these activities that this organization does, yeah, or I've been seeing people reposting something, I've been seeing people sharing a specific topic, a specific issue, or joining a specific discussion. So it raises the exactly the value of the work that you do, increases perception, and further the recognition. And then about communication, how? A few of the ideas that I would share is, first, it is choosing and understanding your audience. So what kind of messages they would like to see, what things are interesting for them, what topics are close to their hearts, what topics are close to their mind, what symbols and what references. And then starting to create your communication from authenticity and values. It's not about creating an image. You cannot, I think, fake inclusion in the long run, because after a few events or after a few messages, people will be not joining activities further. And yeah, first is thinking about, what do you authentically want to advocate? What do you want to communicate? What are the values of your organization? What are these pillars that you stand on? And from there, you can work on choosing appropriate channels that are for your audience and thinking, okay, where are they? Working with young people now has been this shift from, hey, from Facebook, should we go to Instagram? From Instagram, should we go to the youth centers or go to schools physically or go to universities? At what time should we post things, and how to promote things, and so on. So that is also a great deal of analyzing that should be going on. And then designing appropriate messages. So thinking, what is the tone of voice to use? Do you need to work with different languages with different words, with what vocabulary you will be using. In our case, we work mostly with English, but then all our messages, or most of our messages, we translate to Estonian and into Russian when it comes to some specific events, when it comes to specific messages to multipliers, when it comes to specific messages to schools. That is extra work, but then that is what will bring the result in that sense. And then adding a little touch of creativity. Again, 10,000 different messages. So why yours will be different? Are you maybe using a symbol that is more quirky, that is more like, whoa, wow, I didn't expect that? Is it the colors that are maybe a bit more blunt and then seen from further away, let's say? Or is it some names and catchy phrases that you use? So really thinking about that part. Nowadays, especially working with young people, things that work different mediums, as in photo content, galleries, where you can scroll different pictures on Instagram and you can understand what the activity was about or what the event was about, is also a way to become more approachable, because there's so many people that are sitting at home and looking at these Instagram pictures and not daring to maybe join when they see a poster inviting for, I don't know, a game event or a board game night or something. But then seeing very authentic, very chill pictures, they feel that, hey, maybe I can actually approach this place and it's not going to be that scary. Photo content in terms of zines, so online magazines that can tell some stories and text with pictures that follow a specific message or communicate a specific message is also something that works quite well with nowadays young people and online communication users. Video content, yeah, whether if it's reels, whether if it's stories, whether if it's short videos, little interviews, all these things that make an organization and the people behind more real, and the atmosphere more real with the communication. Merchandise, so stickers, clothing, notepads that will actually be useful. And that's another thing. Sometimes you get this possibility to print t-shirts and everyone sadly wears it as pajamas afterwards, yeah, after a project or after an event. And that's what we don't want. So we always try to also look at what are the different trends and what things young people will actually be using and wearing afterwards, that will communicate and do this kind of ambassador work for us, and that will end up just in the wardrobe of one or the other. And understandable event formats, things that do not include very vague and abstract things, but more people know what are festivals, people know what is a round talk, people understand what is maybe a conference, but not so much a community meetup or an agora, or come in and check this toolkit presentation, which might be not so attractive for the target groups. So also think about how to make these formats understandable. For me, one of the most fun experiences in the organization was at one point, maybe 5 years ago, we were at the stage when we really were in need of new members, and we didn't have any kind of cool format. And we thought, hey, let's just invite people for tea and a chat. So we just put tea and cookies and invite as many people, or like just spread this message that, hey, come for tea. And we made 3 different tea evenings. And for every tea evening, we just had more and more people coming, sitting down, grabbing tea. And then we would start talking a little bit what we do as an organization and what are the different things that we offer. And this was the simplest concept created. And it brought us so many great members and so many people. And when we asked them, but why did you come for this very random evening tea activity? And they say, yeah, because it was so simple. It was just like tea. So I came for the tea. And understanding what this organization does. And then the vibe was so homey that it just made me want to stay. So that is also this part of communication. And if that's communication, then we go to also DIOR, which is dissemination and exploitation of results. Again, keeping it simple and understandable, I would say, is how do you share and ensure the use of the project results, of the outputs, or the things that you do? Because that is also a part of communicating. And here in the NGO world, there is very often the idea of cannot convince, confuse. Yeah, we create so many IOs. We very often name them in so many different ways that it's hard to follow, it's hard to access, and it's hard to actually use afterwards if you're not part of the creators of these project results and outputs. And I would invite, go away from the cannot convince, confuse, and go into what confuses people less. What are the results and what are the things that are easily understandable? And one of the things is to the point landing pages and websites, when it's clearly understandable that, hey, in this website, you can download this specific manual or this specific game that is for teachers of this specific class, maybe, yeah, or of this people interested in this specific subject. So the less abstract and big words and the more specifics will make people want to actually use, because remember, there's 10,000 different other messages out there. It's easily accessible materials that are all in one place. And when you click, it takes you maybe to a Google Drive where you can download everything, or it takes you to a specific landing page where you have everything in one spot. And sometimes with big projects, with big strategic partnerships that create great results, it is very hard to put them together and find the things, because there is no one directory or one reference point that explains what are the different results that were created and for which purpose they should be used. Then to the point media materials, maybe short podcasts, short e-courses that are, again, directed to a specific target group will make it more user-friendly. Appropriate games and user-friendly tools with manuals. We've been creating educational games for a while. And when we asked young people, what kind of, in a school, what kind of games you want to see, the answer blew us away, because one of the youngsters said, hey, we want games that even our teachers can play. And we were like, well, what do you mean? Do you mean your teachers are incapable of playing games or learning them? What do you mean? And they said, no, our teachers are very busy. And if you give them a game that has 5 pages of rules and so many different physical things, then we will not play it, because it's just not practical. We will never learn it. We don't have the time for it. So please make it as simple as possible for our teachers. And that was also a shift for us to go into maybe not the most difficult and great kind of systems of games, but more going into user-friendly and with the simplest explanation lists, with the simplest rules, and optimizing any project result that we do to be understandable for whom it is and how to use it, and that everything is in one place. And if it's more difficult, having a little guide being like, you should use this at this point, and that's the benefit, and so on. And yet again, understandable event formats to come and participate, to learn about new project results or the things that are created. For example, what we do with project results, we create game nights as well. We created a few games, and then it's just, hey, come for a very chill game night, play a few games that we created, see, ask questions, and then if you feel that it's right for you, then download it, yeah, or take a physical copy and play with your young people, because it is working much better at this point. And then how we do it in the organization. First of all, it's not a recipe that I tell you. It's more about our experiments and our tryouts. The base values, as I said already, it's authenticity and openness. So anything that we do is open to everyone who wants to come at this specific time. We try to create appropriate image for our target group and stay consistent. And we also create differentiated portfolio of projects that are more for young people and really directed at them and empowering them. Projects that are directed at multipliers who will then use for the benefit of young people or together with young people, the project results. We also have this involvement and co-creation idea of really not being scared of harsh feedback. If we come with a game that we've been working on for a few days or a few weeks even, and people say, no, this doesn't work, we will start reworking the things, yeah, or we involve them in, okay, what would work, let's change, what are the other things. So really being this part of whatever happens. And then the acceptance of mistakes and encouraging effort with the work that are done by young people in terms of our communication and in terms of starting activities. And a few examples of that. One is MessageWare. It's a project where young people were thinking about different things they would like to pass on to the society, but they cannot, yeah, because nobody listens, as one of the ideas. And we had 3 seasons of this project, and we created over 35 different designs of clothing that were created by young people after first workshops about social issues, workshops about what are the difficulties that the society faces, what are the difficulties that young people are facing, what you would like to pass on to your parents, to your teachers, to adults about how it is to be a young people in Estonia now, and creating a bunch of designs that were connected to the environment, connected to relations between young people, relations between parents and young people. We have some designs that are all about like hug more, or that young people are the product of the society that is around, or that comfort zone can be bringing you down and it's in your hands to get out of it. And here young people were very much involved because the format was interesting. Hey, it's about creating streetwear, it's about creating designs, but in that process there was a lot of learning going on, and then there was a lot of also dissemination and use of the results going on, because even now sometimes on the streets of Tallinn you can find a young person wearing one of the t-shirts or one of the hoodies that were created in this project as well. So my question here, or like my invitation here, is to think, how can you empower the target group to really co-create with you in something new? What is your superpower, basically, or what are your symbols and things that you can use, and how you can involve young people or your target group into it? Then another project is Critical Escape. Here we are working on portable escape rooms on the topic of migration, done by young people and done by teenagers. And this one for me is really an example of co-creation, where now this group of 6 to 9 young people facilitated over 36 games involving over 180 young people in just the last few months, because they really are sparkled by the idea of creating and facilitating escape rooms that are on the topic of migration and on the topic of being open to newcomers to Estonia, being open to migrants, and also questioning your fears or your stereotypes and preconditions. And this is one of the best, let's say, dissemination and exploitation of results, is when young people then take up the motivation and say, hey, we actually really want to go and play more of these games. So also think how you can create ambassadors of your organization, of your brand, and how you can provide them the possibility. So we have these escape rooms in a few suitcases in the office, and all the members are invited to then just come take the suitcase, go to your school, run the game, or write to your teacher, or if you want and you're a bit scared of writing to your teacher, ask us, we will write to the teacher, and we will create a possibility for you to go and run the activity. So there is this mutual support, but also the format that is interesting, and the motivation that is behind, that is created by this kind of common feeling. Another one, here you might see the signature handwriting of Olaja. It's been markers, a training course about graphic facilitation, and one of the results there was a set of visual dictionaries that were technically done in just a few sessions at first by participants. And it was incorporated in the training curriculum, where participants had different keywords on different topics, and they were creating simple visual vocabulary to communicate with it. And then at the end, this key action 1 training course created a set of 5 or 6 different visual dictionaries, basically without any additional resources except extra work days from Olaj and from the project team to finalize these. So here is an invitation of think how can you make a useful output without extra resources from the value that is created within the activities that you do, the events that you do, or if it's training programs and so on. Not always you need this extra budget to make something useful, because with this one, we had some people reaching out to us and saying, hey, can we translate these visual dictionaries into different languages? Because I think it would be useful for another target group. And we're always open to be like, of course, here's the raw file. Let's translate them, make them more useful. Why not? And the last few examples is one is Game On. That is the project that in which we created educational board games, and that is the one that started with very complex systems, and then we understood they will never be played, because that's what the young people said, that's what teachers said when we started creating these difficult systems. And it took us quite a while to actually scale down to making these games easier and to making these games simpler. And this is an example of already projects that are more directed at multiplier levels. And here we look at, okay, maybe it will be a great game for young people, but there is a gatekeeper, the teacher or the youth worker, who will either use this game or not. So we need to think not only from the target group or the end user perspective, but also from the multipliers perspective. What does the teacher need? So then how can you ensure usability in the games that you create? Another one directed at multipliers is Breakout Box, where we started doing educational escape boxes. We love escape games, but they need a lot of resources. They usually need a team. They usually need a lot of, say, extra resources, a separate space, and a lot of time to run. Even though we believe in escape games very much, and we see the impact, they are less usable. So we started experimenting with additional things as how can we make a similar experience fit in one box that can fit on a classroom table. And for here, we are also inviting teachers, we invite young people, and we prototype and we co-create these things all together. So here the question would be, how can you also critically look at things that you love doing and practices that you use, and how they can be maybe optimized more to be even more user-friendly, to be more interesting for the multipliers. And then there is this last one is a project that we work with podcasts and with sharing different practices from the international youth work field, because we don't really work much with communicating or directing at decision makers, but this one we really wanted to have more people in Estonia know of what great things people do in the international youth work field and what other partners are doing, and to make it also a bit more known and used. So we have a series of podcasts that share very cool practices. Here you see Anna with the first episode that we had that was about open youth centers and how this practice is used in Armenia. And the cool thing about this project is that it's been also spread quite strategically thanks to different national agencies and thanks to also national youth work bodies. And we wanted to reach as many decision makers as possible. And for that, we have investing quite a lot into different newsletters, into little visuals that are sent, into little reminders, into also things that go exactly towards the decision makers. So here the question would be, how can you share and acknowledge work of others also? Yeah, what is the kind of cool thing that that you guys can do, so that you don't have to be one organization always communicating and promoting things, but who are there around with whom you can collaborate and co-work. So to summarize, communication and sharing, tips that we picked up along the way. Invest into visual identity. It is important and it's growing in importance nowadays even more. Align the external communication that you have to the outside with how your organization is built within and how is the atmosphere inside. Don't be afraid to look critically. Yeah, create catchy project names, because that is something that will be used afterwards. That is a brand of its own that can be communicating the work and the value that you guys promote and produce. Differentiate your audience and communication. Maybe put priorities. Is it young people first? Is it multipliers first? And how and through which channels you will reach them. Define project outputs early. Think of what should be the results and how are they useful. Are they unique? Are they innovative? Or how are they going to be used by the target group? And don't be afraid to adjust these ideas along the way. Reach out and collaborate to ask for feedback. Don't be afraid to change things later in the work that is, or later stages. And then be out there to share your results. So actually go to schools, invite people for, I don't know, a presentation, a game night, a tea, talking about the manual that you have created, or talking about an exercise or a tool that is created. And don't be afraid to be a bit critical and check up what is happening, how are you communicating, and what is the feedback that is coming from all these different target groups towards what you do, what you create, and what you communicate. Thank you. That is what I had to share.
Thank you so much, Pavel. And actually, the link to presentation was somewhere up there in the chat. You can go and you can also follow, click and learn more. We also tried with Maria to share a bit of the resources that were referred to by Pavel throughout his talk in the chat. So go and check and come back to us. Generally, I think it's an invitation to research a bit more, because you will find a lot of cool things. And I think when we were as a team discussing who to invite as a speaker for idtalks visual, we were thinking whose organization has cool visuals, who can really, who is walking the talk. And thank you so much for bringing a bit of this theory and real life practice together in your presentation, Pavel. At this point, we would like to thank and say goodbye to the audience on Facebook. We will stop broadcasting now, but we will continue recording our conversation here. And because today we are not a very big group, and it's quite cozy, we are just under 20 people at this moment, we would like to invite a different format of questions and answers. If you are our regular long time, you know that at this point we would normally go to breakout rooms and to discuss a bit the talk and come back with questions. But we are almost like one breakout room size group. So we would like to open the question and answers just here directly without going into groups on a personal individual level. There are already a few questions in the chat, and normally we would read them out loud for you, but because we are not a big group, we suggest that you bring your questions to attention of Pavel yourselves. And this way we will have about 25 minutes of an open conversation where we will be very happy also if you share your examples, give feedback to the talk, and use both your speech, unmuting yourself and taking the floor, or raising a hand and taking the floor, and using the chat if you want to share some more information, links, etc. So the floor is yours, dear participants, dear audience. Give a sign and bring your questions to the attention of our speaker today, of Pavel. Especially those people who've already put their questions online. Will be good to hear those from you. Please. So Anna, maybe you voice your question yourself, because I see that you posted one just now.
Yeah, so my question was, sorry, sort of, well, first of all, how long did it take for you to create your visual identity for Shockin? And as I understand, you've established this visual identity. So how did you test, or who did you approach to sort of find out that, okay, the image that you thought was good really is interesting and attractive? And yeah.
Thank you for this question. I guess it was, in the beginning, we sat down, and what we did, we started thinking about the adjectives, how we want to be perceived first ourselves. What do we like put down for ourselves as an organization? How we want young people to think about us. Yeah, do they want to think that we are friendly, that we are kind of fresh and with a cool vibe? So it's been, I'd say, a few evenings of first brainstorming these different adjectives, brainstorming different symbols, sitting together with the people who were starting the organization, and throwing as many ideas as possible. And then going to validate it with the closest target group that we had. So it's with, brothers and sisters and younger siblings. And at that time, we were ourselves in our early 20s. So also going and asking a few friends, and some of us were working in school, so asking a few students as well about these adjectives and about how they want to see an organization, what organization they would like to join. So I guess we were very excited to start. So it was kind of very active 1 week of asking, of putting things together, and then we put this identity idea and involved a few friends to come up with kind of symbolism of what can it be. And then this logo was proposed by one of our friends who's been into graphic design and had, hey, whenever you talk, I think this is how I think you guys should feel like. And it was this very simple sketch that we did. And then it worked straight away with the name and with the logo. But around 5 years after that, we had to rebrand a bit in terms of the colors and things, because nowadays visuals are coming a bit more into kind of monochrome, or not using too many colors, because our first logo was different shades of purple, and then we had a different one with different shades of green and different shades of red. So it was a bit too much. And thanks to new members who said, hey, too many colors. Yeah, let's establish maybe one that will be more consistent. It all moved to this more red aspect. So yeah, it was this first one, and then we really adjusted and changed things 4 years after. And I wasn't super happy about the change at first, because I was like, no, but why are we going to only one color? But at the end, it proved to be more nice, because that was the time when we listened exactly again to our young people who were maybe 19, 20 at that time. So that's what it should be.
Yeah, thank you very much, Pavel. And there was actually a question very much in line with this one from Anna from Georgos. Maybe you could bring it to the attention of Pavel as well.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. How often should we change or evaluating our identity, our visual identity, and make changes? Because I know also that it's not good also to make always like from time to time like too many changes, because it don't make it specific, I think, and not remarkable.
No, absolutely agree. It shouldn't be done. Every year we come up with a new logo or with something. You can be coming up with some polished things of something that, you change a little bit or you adjust because that proves better. But yeah, I guess for us, it works with like a generation of, members, of people who kind of move, and we see, okay, there's a lot more younger people and they see fashion a bit differently. Yeah, they see names, what is cool and what is not, also a bit differently. So it's time to learn from them. It's when we see that our younger members, that we don't understand some of our younger members as fast, then it's like time to reevaluate. Yeah, is there everything that we do to stay relevant for them? And then we really go and ask and try to change also the concepts. And sometimes it's difficult to let go of project concepts that you've been doing for 5 years, and you think, no, but it was such a cool project. when I was 20, but now it's not really a cool project for them. Yeah, so then we do change that. So I'd say it's organically with the change of generations that you can be adjusting your portfolio or your brand as well. But it's the core values that I don't think really change. Yeah, that it's still, if it's the openness, that's what people come for, or it's the authenticity of how you communicate. That's what people come and stay in your organization for.
Thank you very much. Do we have more questions? You can raise a hand, unmute yourselves and ask. Terry has a question, please. You have the floor.
Yeah, hi Pavel. I think it's very true with COVID. It's created a lot of problems in some ways about young people with all the youth centres and everything being closed. Zoom has made a big difference. For me, internationally, it's made a big difference because we've just at the moment, because something you said about keeping it simple, and also we've been able to make an international link with a school in Malta, which is a surprise. And one of the things that came from that was because you've got to, in some way, push yourself forward. Because if you, and I love the way you said about how generations change. They do change, but it's surprising how sometimes saying to young people, our website at the moment, my website, our Facebook page, and our WhatsApp is so out of date that at the moment, I'm pleased to join today because you've really created a lot of interest about visibility. And one of the things that our young people say is, keep it simple. Keep it simple. So we're doing a residential in October and they've gone for a retro black and white monochrome with color on it. And I looked at that and I thought, oh, God. But to them, it means something. And I think something that you said that's really important, and I think it is right, we've got to accept generations move on. And I think at the time, you've got to talk to the young people about what they want. And I don't know whether you, but unless it's youth-led with the youth workers, it won't work. I think that's really important. So the question is, did you involve the young people at all levels when you were doing this? Do you understand my question, okay?
Absolutely, thank you. Yeah, especially with the pandemic and with going online, there's so much more, there's so many more offers, so many more things that are there, and it's even easier to be missed. So the simpler concepts and the simpler formats that you offer online, the easier it is. Like the lower is the threshold for young people to join specific activity. And yeah, we are trying to involve young people at every level of the decisions, especially with communication, because yeah, it's not me who should decide, or some of my colleagues in their 30s who should decide how we should communicate on Instagram, or what stories and how these stories should be published. It should be the young people's ownership, because then they are also a lot more open to share, reshare, to get motivated to create even more. And at the end of the day, it's them who should own it. So yeah, that is one of the things that we are trying to do. Of course, not always we say, hey, we have like specific dedicated time for a change, but or like for coming up with an idea. But as soon as someone mentions it, we take these comments and this feedback very seriously, and we try to put into our agenda kind of periodical meetups, and every year at least to look at, okay, how things are going, what do you think really worked, what we should maybe skip doing next time.
Well, we made a big mistake this week. I like your tea and chat, so we tried coffee and chat, but they're all we're on holiday here, so it doesn't work this time. But I said to the young people, said, can we do it again, Terry? I said, well, yeah, try it and see if people turn up. I also think the graphics is very helpful as well from these talks, that they can lead you, you know, what you've said today, you go back to the graphics, you can pick up on what the graphics is talking about. That maybe gives the graphic recording person, you know, a big boost by saying it does help. But I thought your presentation was really simple and to the point. It was interesting.
Thank you.
And we have another hand with from Claudia. Please, Claudia, you have the floor.
Sorry. Hello. I was listening to your presentations and also ideas, and I really liked when you said, you know, you are trying not to target, you know, everyone and not to please everyone, all the target groups with your communication. But for me, it raises, you know, one very difficult issue when I work from museum. In fact, it's the biggest museum in Hungary, and it's a national museum. So, you know, we have already this old school traditional profile, and, you know, we have to target a lot of different, you know, target groups. And it's very difficult, you know, because we are not in the position not to be, you know, satisfy everyone. And so it's a constant problem for us. Also, you know, if you just talk about museums now, maybe you have also recognized it, but museums are trying to have a revival, especially after COVID lockdown, and we are really trying to make ourselves more, you know, just inspiring for the young people, but still we are not trendy, you know, we just have to admit it. And so while we were thinking about our communication strategy, we really didn't have much choice just to divide, you know, social media channels. So, for example, Instagram is for young people, you know, Facebook is for the elderly, like public audience. But it's still, you know, it's still not a very satisfactory solution, because you cannot just put everything to Instagram that you could put to, you know, Facebook, or in Hungary, for example, in Hungary, nobody uses Twitter, and it could be also a nice social platform, but just nobody uses it. So what do you suggest, you know, if you need to, if you have to satisfy all your target groups, what do you do? Thank you. Sorry I was a bit not very coherent, but I hope my
question makes total sense. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, it is of course more difficult, but it is differentiating your messages and also perhaps your formats that you develop. It's also not only creating, okay, the Instagram is for young people, but then maybe it's about building up also a partnership with one of the schools where young people come and do things in the museum that are just outside of the normal excursion or the normal things. And then you have visibility of also the stories and things coming from young people, or if it's inviting young people into the development of the next exposition that will be, or exhibition that will be in the museum with some things, or asking them little design things that can be changed. Yeah, so involving them into that process, and through that you might see their interest and involvement. Yeah, or also a second thing is, I guess it's not very often that the young person makes a choice to go to the museum. Maybe, yeah, very often it might be the choice of the teacher, yeah, or there might be the choice of actually the parents. So also communicating to the teachers, communicating to the parents would bring the young people. But if the content there is relevant and interesting for the young people, then it might get, let's say, a little ripple effect of coming back and being, hey, I went with my parents, or we went with my class to this museum. It's actually much nicer than I expected, yeah, or it's not as boring as I thought, and so on. So I would still think about that. Who will bring the young people there, and how you can communicate to that, but then to make sure that the content is relevant and youth friendly in that sense.
Yes, thank you very much. In fact, we are trying to do something similar, and I especially like this one notion when you said that try to keep stuff simple, just organize a tea or something, because sometimes all these events and programs can be intimidating. Like if I go there where there is, for example, now we have a famous series. There was one musical composed connected to our biggest national holiday that everybody loves. It's about young people and revolution, so it's very inspiring. So there was a musical composed to it, and now the singers, the actual actors, are coming to the museum, and they just add their component to the museum and to this program. But for example, if I just think about my younger version, it could be very intimidating, like, wow, famous people there, like, what should I do? And yes, I think it's a very practical idea to just promote the already happened experiences of young people. We are also trying to collect these. The thing is, very complex when you have a lot of limitations on what you can do, what you cannot do in a museum. You cannot just stick something to the wall. And once I did it, and oh, everyone was shocked. I stick something during to a wall. In fact, it was a very nice colleagues from Estonia in a museum project, and yes, everybody was shocked. So it's a okay. I don't want to bore you with my museum problems, but when you have this very small space to move around, and you have big ideas and you have a big audience, but this limited space to move around, it can be really, really, really difficult. And just to finish it, what we see as a kind of way of solution is that now we are having a small Erasmus project, and it's about compiling pedagogical units, kind of activities or events, templates that can be used to bring young people, and we are trying them first before circulating it with other institutions. So within our limits. So there won't be graffiti inside the museum, but still can, just invite maybe 5 or 50 or 100 more young people to the museum. So these tiny things can have, but it's still very, very difficult. Okay, thank you. And thank you for listening to me, just bursting out about our museum problem, but I think we are not alone. And and if it's just a very traditional museum trying to catch up with times, you can run into some very interesting problems. So yeah, thank you for sharing, and yeah, some very practical ideas. Thank you.
Thank you, Claudia. Thank you very much. Anna has one more question to ask, but before we pass there, I have maybe to put another topic on the table, Pavel. I don't know what Anna's question will be about, but maybe you can also address this. So communicating is important, and you already said how increasingly important it becomes, but it's also very sensitive. And when especially we are targeting young people with fewer opportunities, different, more vulnerable, marginalized groups, sometimes maybe it can be double as important, but also double as sensitive. And very often I have a feeling when I look at some communication that the communication is highlighting something that is in the essence, not what the project is about, but what is maybe more appealing to the potential donor or founder, because it's nice to be environmentally friendly, it's nice to be inclusive, it's nice to be diverse. How to avoid kind of tripping into this pitfall? Because there is a big temptation to tick the box of inclusion and to tick the box of diversity and to make this nicer impression on others. Where is this red line that should probably not be crossed? Yeah, if you could think about it, and then maybe we can take Anna's question as well, and then answer these two questions together. Please, Anna.
Yeah, if you'll remember, but I agree to your question, and I think it's additional in a way, because you also bring up the idea of young people's ownership, and the project I'm working on, it's Circus for Climate. So it's also a project where we want the youth to talk about what they are concerned with, and the final product will be created from their ideas. However, most young people in my family and around, when I start asking them questions, their usual answer is, I don't know, I don't really, like they don't really want to participate. So my question is, do you have any advice or sort of techniques that you used in your organization to open up these conversations so that it's a natural flow, rather than, hey, what do you think about this subject, and tell me what is your opinion, and yeah, that's my question.
Thank you, Annas, for the two questions. So coming to the second one, yeah, how we sometimes expect young people to have an opinion straight away on something that they might never thought about, really. I mean, they're living their own life, they have so many other things that are going on and that can be very important. So expecting a very quick answer might be also too much. What we are trying to do is we try to lay the background first, kind of, for the foundation for a project. So we gather this team, and first it is about really getting to know each other. It's about really getting to know a bit of the topic, like having open discussions, maybe inviting a guest speaker, or maybe making a little trip together if it's possible, or go somewhere and see something or meet something in reality, and give them time with a few home tasks. Okay, think about this, this, and this, and then slowly coming back to a meeting where, okay, what ideas did you guys gather? Yeah, also what works with teenagers often is, you don't ask them, what do you think? But you ask, yeah, what do your friends think? Yeah, what other teenagers would think? So then they are also more open to then ask around, and are more brave in a way to give an opinion, because it's not mine, because very often they are afraid to say their own opinion, because very often that's what they are told not to be doing. Yeah, don't say your own opinion straight away, it might be wrong. And I think that is an important foundation, kind of, to create it. And it takes more time, it takes more investment in terms of timing and your personal resource into this. But I think it's worth it a lot, because with this Messageware project, we've been doing several months of meetings, of kind of brewing this up, of opening different discussions about the social issues in Estonia, discussions about the language issues, discussions about, okay, but why aren't we afraid of voicing this? And then slowly working with metaphors and symbols, then designs started making some sense and shape. So it's kind of taken this as a very important part in a longer process. And the very difficult question of the red line, or how to not be ink washing, greenwashing, and other washing things. I really been thinking about it when preparing also for this talk, but I guess my answer is really be authentic and check yourself every time when you do a project. Like, ask yourself or ask the team of, guys, why are we doing this? Yeah, and what do we want to get out of this? And for whom are we doing this? And it is maybe difficult for many NGOs to say no to some projects or some topics or some aspects, because yeah, we know that's a priority. And if we work for that, we're going to get funding, we're going to get possibilities and so on. But staying true to yourself and kind of checking, am I the best, or are we the best organization to work with this target group now? Or are we the best organization to promote this topic now? Or with whom maybe we should collaborate to actually make it real, and not us trying to find some specific target group and then making pictures and promoting it. Hey, look, we're doing this, this, and this. But with whom we can collaborate, from whom we can actually learn how to do these things. So I guess this has been, yeah, staying true very much to what you do, and when you communicate, to be honest about it. It's like the only thing that comes to mind of like how to ensure it.
Thank you so much, because it sometimes has this counter effect. It's when it's not genuine and it's not authentic, it actually does more harm than brings attention and brings visibility. It actually has the counter effect somehow. Terry, I have seen your hand. If this is a short comment, we have a time for that. Please.
Yeah, it's very short. I think what Claudia said and what Anna is saying is create a partnership with somebody. I bet Pavel didn't achieve what he did on his own. And I think you've got to work in partnership with people. And I think Anna's really right in this red line. Take a risk, even if it means taking a risk and you're going to fail or make mistakes. Don't be frightened. Don't just join the cool gang. As you know, the young people say to me, I don't want to be part of the cool gang, Terry. It's about trying to do that. And I think the other thing, Anna, is say to some of the young people, do you want to come for a coffee? Or I daren't say this, you'll bite my head off. Do you want to go for a McDonald's? You know, nobody wants to do that. I don't. But that's the way sometimes to move forward with the kids. And maybe Pavel's right. That's where you find out what they want over an hamburger. I know it sounds strange, but sometimes that's what you got to do. And Claudia, I think for you, get yourself a partnership with the school. You could do great things with your museum. Over here, there is some youth workers working in museums here in the UK. Not many, but it's maybe a way to go forward.
Thank you very much, Terry. Now, before I give the floor back to Pavel to say his final wishes and words, I would like to remind you that there was somebody doing what we talked about in the background all the way through, and this is Olaja. And like always, we are really looking forward to see what you've managed to capture, and we will be we are really kind of excited. So please show.
Thank you so much. I will activate it now. So you should be soon, hopefully, seeing my screen. You can give me some thumbs up. So yeah, if it works, perfect. I'll make it also full screen. So yeah, in the talk today, which was indeed a real talk and a real exchange and very inspiring also from the side of the audience, we took a quick look, but still intense, a quick look, but still intense, at the idea of branding, of marketing, because sometimes, as Pavel was saying, it sounds too businessy, and maybe some organizations are a bit reluctant into really sitting down and creating a strategy and putting things together, because I know, but this is not us. We do youth work, or we do other type of organizational work. And today we have seen how important it can be to just something as simple as being not only visible, but to be understood in the way we want to be understood by our audience, to actually reach those who we're trying to reach. So really putting extra thought in the way, the tone we use, in the visuals we use, in how our social media, what type of messages and feelings it also transmits. And of course, there is a lot of noise nowadays, and there is not stopping anytime soon, I believe. So we need to take a step towards this mindful or very conscious steps towards reaching the youngsters, if we want to reach youngsters in this case. So we heard some steps of what that we can take towards this, understanding our audience, first of all, really relying the youngsters we work with and their ideas. And I say work with, because sometimes we fall in the trap of working for youngsters instead of with youngsters, and they have most of the times the key to what we should be doing. And reviewing, being critical, really taking the time to take a look and do some checkups of what we're doing, and not being afraid, as Tony said, to just, you know, take some risks. So all in all, I believe for me, what I captured, and of course what will be still enriched over the next days, is that we need to trust our members. We need to sometimes let go. We need to be truth with ourselves, with the values we are trying to pass on. And as I put on the bottom right, and being authentic, it's very contagious, and it is what will take our work further and further. So thank you.
Thank you, Olaja. It's already the 20th time that you are surprising us over and again with amazing capturing of the most essential parts of the talk. And just to remind our audience, the final version of the graphic recording, as well as the video recording and all the relevant links, as well as the article that our speaker will produce after the talk, all together will come to your inbox within the coming 2 weeks. And now, before saying final goodbyes, I would like to pass the floor first to Pavel. And in the meantime, we will be very happy to get your feedback in the chat. And then to close the series and the whole season, we'll pass the floor also to Maria. So Pavel, please, your final 2 cents.
I just wanted to say thank you. It was enriching also for me. And there's many dilemmas and thoughts that are always in front of us, but as Olaja nicely mentioned, be authentic. It's contagious. Don't be afraid to experiment with this. If you will be authentic, going from the heart with the young people, with your target group, you're going to be visible and noticeable for sure. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure hosting you here today. Hopefully some other of our regular visitors will switch roles and one day be speakers like you were today, Pavel. It was a pleasure hosting you today. And Maria, since this is the end of an entire season of Spring 2022, as the representative of organization that is behind the whole idtalks series, you have the floor to close today's day and to close this season. Please.
Thank you, Anna. I can just say that idtalks are contagious as well. So I will say goodbye for now. And thank you all for being with us for past 2 months or a bit longer. But we will be back again in autumn with a new series, 5 new topics. So stay tuned. We will keep in touch. And we will share the outcomes of this session as we did with the previous 4. So soon you will get an email in your inbox with this beautiful souvenir that Olaja has been giving us after every session, the graphic recordings. You will get the podcast and video recordings of today's session, and as well the article that Pavel will produce after this talk. But also we will add all the articles from the previous or the last 5 sessions to the idtalks magazine. So if you go to our webpage of the idtalks, you can also find all articles of previous 20 sessions or 15 at the moment. They're at one place, so it's easy to download. You have them all in one, and 5 more talks will be added there. And I just really want to say thank you for staying with us. I think half of the group today, or even more, are people who've been really, loyal to idtalks and enriching all the conversations that we had so far and inspiring all of us. So please come back in autumn with even more experiences and ideas to share with us. And yeah, it was really a pleasure. I think, like you are the speakers and you are actually making the idtalks. So thank you for that. Back to you, Anna.
Well, nothing left to say. Pleasure to return in a few months, and stay tuned and have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Thank you all. Bye.